We'll give your classmates just another minute or so to get in, then we'll start. All right, let's go ahead and let's get going. So, as you can probably see this morning, I posted a new assignment in Google Classroom, GMAW2, primary and secondary power. There is a unit in the Miller Open Book website that you need to do called primary and secondary power, then complete the Google form associated with it. It is due by 11:59 p.m. October 25th, which would be Sunday night. So make sure you get that work done before then. Does anybody have any questions thus far? All right, so we are going to go ahead and we are going to get into the presentation for primary and secondary power. Some of this is going to seem a little bit familiar because we've already talked a little bit about primary and secondary power, but that was in relation to stick welding. This is going to be in relation to MIG welding. So while some of the information is going to be the same, there will be some new info in here. All right. So GMAW2, primary and secondary power in relation to gas metal arc welding. Upon completion of this unit, we shall be able to explain the difference between primary power and secondary power, recognize the difference of single-phase and three-phase power, recognize the difference between ground and work connections, understand Ohm's law, and understand how to select the correct welding cable size. So primary power. Primary power, or electricity supplied to the building from the power utility or generator. Primary voltage. The input voltage from the power company or a generator is referred to as primary voltage. It may be supplied as single phase or three phase at various voltages. Primary amperage. The amperage supplied to the welding power source is referred to as primary amperage. Primary frequency. The rate at which alternating current makes a complete cycle of reversals is called frequency. 115, 230, 460, and 575 are the most common voltages supplied by both power companies and power generators. The input amperage to a welding power source is alternating current, or AC. AC is an electrical current that alternately has both positive and negative half cycles. Current flows in one direction during one half of the cycle and reverses direction for the other half cycle. Most electrical power in the United States is delivered as 60 cycle or 60 hertz frequency. This means that there are 60 cycles per second, or the current changes directions 120 times per second, twice each cycle, once positive and once negative. The power input to the AC welding power source and most other electrical equipment in the United States today is 60 hertz power. Outside of the United States, 50 hertz is more common. Single phase and three phase. Single phase power is an electrical supply that has two electrically hot power lines that are supplied to the welding power source and one ground wire that is connected to earth. Three phase power is an electrical supply that has three electrically hot power lines that are supplied to the welding power source and one ground wire that is supplied to the earth. Single-phase constant voltage (CV) welding power sources were among the first machines designed for GMAW, and they were less expensive than the three-phase machines. Conventionally, three-phase machines produce smoother arc characteristics and are electrically efficient, making them a better choice for industrial applications. Grounded connection. The ground connection is an electrical conductor connected directly to earth intended to protect you from being shocked. Ground is an electrical term used to identify this safety component of the electrical circuit. The term ground should not be confused or used when referring to the work clamp that completes the secondary weld circuit. We've talked about that a little bit before, how they're kind of used interchangeably, and even I will admit I do it. The work clamp and the ground wire are two completely different things. The ground wire is a safety wire intended to transmit straight electricity to the earth, and this wire is usually green. Just as in single phase, the ground wire is a safety wire intended to transmit straight electricity to the earth, and this wire is usually green. I don't know why they feel the need to repeat that. Come on, 1 second. I'm kind of cycling through my notes here. Secondary work connection. So the work connection completes the secondary welding electrical circuit. So this is an example of a work clamp right here. This part would go plug into our machine, and then this would clamp onto whatever we're working on. It's a C-clamp style rather than a spring jaw style, but these are fairly common on larger MIG machines. Secondary power. Secondary power refers to the electrical output from the welding power source. Welding power sources produce a low voltage, high amperage output. The output can either be direct current, DC, or alternating current, AC. For GMAW welding, direct current is primarily used. Welding power sources produce a low voltage, high amperage output. Direct current is primarily used. Dry cell batteries, like a flashlight, and wet cell batteries, like car batteries, are sources of direct current. A battery has a positive terminal and a negative terminal, or poles. A direct current output welding power source also has a positive and negative terminal. Connecting the electrode cable, holder, and electrode to either the positive or negative terminal, the work cable and its clamp are connected to the opposite terminal. Benjamin Franklin states that electrons flow from the positive terminal to the negative terminal. Thomas Edison, though, states that current flows from the negative terminal to the positive terminal. So there's that electron theory that we've touched upon in previous units. There's still, the jury's still out on that one. Secondary voltage. Secondary voltage is set on the GMAW constant voltage welding power source. Voltage is directly proportional to arc length. Increasing voltage increases the arc length, and decreasing it lowers the arc length. Arc length influences the contour of the weld or how well the puddle or weld pool flattens out. So as with stick welding, your arc length is going to help shape your weld pool. Secondary amperage. Amperage is influenced by wire feed speed on a wire feeder measured in a WFS indicator. Secondary resistance. In a welding circuit, the greatest resistance is the air gap across the arc. The heat of the welding arc is actually caused by resistance. Polarity. For arc welding, we use Edison's theory that electrons flow from negative to positive. Direct current electrode negative, DCEN, clearly identifies that the electrode is negative. Direct current electrode positive, DCEP, clearly identifies that the electrode is positive. DCEP is used for most GMAW. DCEN may be used in rare cases for controlling penetration on thin gauge material. There are two terms used to identify polarity in a welding circuit: straight polarity and reverse polarity. These terms correspond to the direction that the electrons are flowing. Just as the term states for DCEP, the electrode is connected to the positive terminal and the work clamp is connected to the negative terminal. This is mainly due to its ability to provide a deeper penetrating weld and better metal transfer than DCEN. The operator sets the wire feed speed to get a certain amount of amperage to meet the needs of the job. Ohm's law. This is present in all electrical circuits, and basically the math formula works out that volts equals amps times resistance. And resistance is set by the condition of the cables and the connections. The entire circuit of weld cables and connections offers some resistance. Resistance is the unknown welding variable, is a source of welding problems. Copper strands in the GMAW gun or in the work lead become more resistive, get hot. To better understand resistance in a welding circuit, by understanding the relationship between resistance, ohms, voltage, and amperage. Okay, these notes are all goofed up. So basically we need to know that these are all related to each other. We won't get too deep into this. So voltage is set at the welding power supply. Basically, we set our voltage on the machine. Resistance is established by the condition of the cables and connections. Wire feed speed also affects resistance. So our voltage is going to be kind of like something we set our machine to, like if we're going to run at 28 volts. Resistance is then going to be determined by the condition of the machine, the condition of the clamps, what we're clamped to, how good is our ground clamp, and also our wire feed speed. Amperage is affected by wire feed speed because of resistance and essentially happens. It is a result of the equation. So what we need to do when we are MIG welding is we need to balance our voltage and our wire feed speed. You cannot run, let's say if we are running at 28 volts on our machine, we would be around 30 to 40 inches per minute. If you ran at 30 volts, you would have to adjust your wire speed correctly. You would have to bump it up a little bit. There is no one size fits all as far as wire feed speed and voltage. It's a constant adjustment. The more you do of one, the more you have to do of another. So here we can see our settings, how they can be different. So if we have our wire feeder set to 210 inches per minute and our machine is set to 19 volts, we are going to have 0.158 ohms of resistance, and we'll end up with about 120 amps of welding force. If we increase our wire feed speed by 30 inches per minute up to 240, but we're still at 19 volts, you can see that our ohms, our resistance has dropped to 0.136 and our amperage has increased. So by increasing this wire speed, we've given ourselves a little bit more juice to weld at. So you can see that same voltage, different wire speed, different results. And over time, you guys are going to develop a sense of what's right. We'll be able to really listen to the weld to know when it's good and when it's not good. So you notice that an increase in wire feed speed decreases resistance and therefore increases amperage. So this is probably a better welding setting than this one up here. Welding cables must be large enough to carry the amperage over the required distance away from the machine. Size of the cable to the maximum output of the welding power source you are connecting to. So we need to make sure that our cables are actually capable of handling the amount of juice that we're sending through them. When cables are undersized, frayed, crushed, and connections are loose, we add more resistance to the welding circuit and cause welding problems. Be sure to account for the length of both the work cable and the electrode cable to select the correct welding cable size. So that is our little spiel, our little lesson for today. We got through it relatively quickly. That's all I'm going to have for you today. We would normally now go back and do some welding, but obviously we can't do that. So I'm going to give you guys the rest of our synchronous time together to work on that assignment. Oh, there's no image on number 2. Give me 1 second to fix that. I must have forgot to put it on. Give me 2 seconds. All right, it's there now. You may have to back out of it and try again. Here, Nathan and Ryan, I'm going to delete these so that you can do it with the picture in there. Did you two hear me, Nathan and Ryan? Hello?